Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember that context is everything. Context is Everything Media Network founder and CEO John Michael Monroy reading a textbook from the year 2001 cover to cover. We're this far into it. Why am I doing this? So that I can build my historical context, because in the name I plan to continue to produce and release me talking. So I want to build my historical context before I begin talking, really. I guess it's a bit of establishing credibility, establishing ethos, if you're looking at rhetorical concepts that I might have made up, but I think I learned in college. The rise of Europe, 500 to 1300. This is chapter 8. I'm not going to have carpet in my house, I'll tell you that. I'm in an apartment. I have the room with carpet. God bless the place. I like it. But it is the smelliest place I ever intend on living. The rise of Europe, 500 to 1300 AD, rather. So preview, we're going to talk about early Middle Ages, feudalism, and the manor economy, medieval church, economic expansion and change. 500. Sorry about the sniffling. I sound like a behemoth, I know. It's disgusting. It makes me sick. Trust me. I know it makes you sick. It makes me sick. 500s. Germanic tribes such as the Franks dominate Western Europe. This bronze brooch, B-R-O-O-C-H, depicts a Frankish warrior. Oh. That's a bronze brooch, by the way. And all the way up to 1200s, the Dominican and Franciscan orders of Christian friars are founded. Okay. I'm sorry about the sniffling. It's disgusting. I know. I'm not going to stop the recording, though. To blow my nose, I'm just going to have a sip of water, recontain myself, and hopefully do a better job reading than I did last week. Because another reason why I'm doing this book reading is because I'm not very good at reading out loud or in general. Section 1, the early Middle Ages. Setting the scene. Pope Gregory the Great sat at his desk thinking about the perils facing Italy. The Lombards were attacking from the north once again. Rome might fall to plundering invaders. "Where is the Senate?" Gregory wrote. "Where are the people? The bones are dissolved, and the flesh is consumed. The whole mass is boiled away." Gregory was writing around 600 AD, as waves of invaders swept across Europe. Trade slowed to a trickle, towns emptied, and learning virtually ceased. During the early Middle Ages, from about 500 to 1000 AD, Europe was a relatively backward region, largely cut off from advanced civilizations in the Middle East, China, and India. Slowly, though, a new European civilization would emerge that blended Greco-roman, Germanic, and Christian traditions. Much later, it would be called medieval civilization, from the Latin word for middle age. Medieval, Latin word for middle age. I'm actually going to blow my nose. Bear with me. Don't go anywhere. And we're back. Thank you for your patience. Geography of Western Europe. This is heading number 1. Rome had linked its distant European territories with miles of roads and had spread classical ideas like Latin language and Christianity to the tribal people of Western Europe. But Rome was a Mediterranean power. The Germanic peoples who ended Roman rule in the West shifted the focus of European history to the north. Subheading: Location. Europe is relatively small. The second smallest in land area of the 7 continents. It lies in the western end of Eurasia, the giant landmass that stretches from present-day Portugal in the west all the way to China in the east. Despite Europe's size, its impact on the modern world has been enormous. Resources, subheading. From about 500 to 1000 AD, this region was a frontier land, a sparsely populated, undeveloped area on the outskirts of civilization. Still, it had great untapped potential. Dense forests flourished in the north. The region's rich earth was better suited to raising crops than were the dry soils of the Mediterranean. Underground lay mineral resources. Nearby seas provided fresh fish for food and served as transportation routes. Europe's large rivers were ideal for trade, and its mountain streams could turn water wheels. New heading: The Germanic Kingdoms. The Germanic tribes who migrated across Europe were farmers and herders. Their culture differed greatly from that of the Romans. They had no cities or written laws. Instead, they lived in small communities governed by unwritten customs. They elected kings to lead them in war. Warrior nobles swore loyalty to the king in exchange for weapons and loot. The Franks. Subheading: The Franks. Between 400 and 700, Germanic tribes carved Western Europe into small kingdoms. The strongest kingdom to emerge was that of the Franks. In 486, Clovis, king of the Franks, conquered the former Roman province of Gaul. He ruled his new lands according to the Frankish customs, but did preserve much of the Roman legacy in Gaul. So Gaul is modern-day France, and the Franks probably changed its name to France, or named it France. Let's see if I'm right. Clovis took an important step when he converted to Christianity. Clovis took an important step when he converted to Christianity, the religion of the people in Gaul. Not only did he earn their support, but he also gained a powerful ally in the Christian Church of Rome. Subheading: Europe and the Muslim world. As the Franks and the Germanic peoples carved up Europe, a new power was emerging across the Mediterranean. The religion of Islam appeared in Arabia in 622. From there, Muslims, or believers in Islam, built a huge empire and created a new civilization, as you will read in Chapter 11. Chapter 8. European Christians were stunned when Muslim armies overran Christian lands from Palestine to North Africa to Spain. When a Muslim army crossed into France, Charles Martel rallied Frankish warriors. At the Battle of Tours in 732, Christian warriors triumphed. To them, the victory was a sign that God was on their side. Muslims advanced no further into Western Europe, although they continued to rule most of Spain. To European Christians, the Muslim presence was a source of anxiety. When Islam was no longer a threat, Christians viewed the Muslim world with hostility. In time, though, medieval Europeans would learn much of Muslims, whose learning in many areas exceeded their own. New heading: The Age of Charlemagne. Around 800, Western Europe had a moment of unity when the grandson of Charles Martel built an empire reaching across France, Germany, and part of Italy. The emperor was known to history as Charlemagne, or Charles the Great. Charlemagne towered over most people of his time. He loved battle and spent much of his 46-year reign fighting Muslims in Spain, Saxons in the north, Avars and Slavs in the east, and Lombards in Italy. His conquests reunited much of the old Roman Empire. Interesting. The Christian Emperor. A Christian Emperor. Subheading: A Christian Emperor. In 800, Pope Leo III called on Charlemagne for help against rebellious nobles in Rome. Frankish armies marched south, crushed the rebellion. On Christmas Day, the Pope showed his gratitude by placing a crown on Charlemagne's head and proclaiming him Emperor of the Romans. The ceremony would have enormous significance. A Christian pope had crowned a German king successor to the Roman emperors. In doing so, he revived the ideal of a united Christian community. He also laid the ground for desperate power struggles between future Roman Catholic popes and German emperors. The pope's actions outraged the emperor of the Eastern Roman Empire in Constantinople. Remember, Constantine split the Roman Empire, or maybe he didn't split it, but he was the namesake of the Eastern Roman Empire's hub, capital of Constantinople, which the Eastern Roman Empire did not fall. The whole of the Roman Empire did, but Eastern Roman Empire was fine in the fall of Roman Empire in 476, as noted in this textbook at least, and in my brain, which might have forgotten the real thing that they said. Whatever. Okay, the Pope's actions outraged. Okay, Constantinople. The Eastern Emperor saw himself, and not some backward Frankish king, as the sole Roman ruler. In the long run, the crowning of Charlemagne helped widen the split between the Eastern and Western Christian worlds. Subheading: Government. Charlemagne tried to exercise control over as many lands and create a united Christian Europe. Working closely with the church, he helped spread Christianity to the conquered peoples on the fringes of his empire. Missionaries converted many Saxons and Slavs. Like other Germanic kings, Charlemagne appointed powerful nobles to rule local regions. He gave them land so they could offer support and supply soldiers for his armies. To keep control of these provincial rulers, he sent out officials called missi dominici. Missi dominici. To check on roads, listen to grievances, and see the justice was done. Charlemagne introduced the missi to administer the law fully and justly. In the case of the holy churches of God and of the poor and wards and widows and of the whole people. Let me read that without the dumb accent. Charlemagne instructed the Missi Dominici, to administer the law fully and justly in the case of the holy churches of God, and of the poor, of wards, and of widows, and of the whole people. New subheading, Revival of Learning, subheading, Revival of Learning. Charlemagne wanted to make his court at Aachen. Charlemagne wanted to make his court at Aachen a second Rome. To do so, he set out to revive Latin learning in his empire. Education had declined so much that even supposedly educated clergy were often sadly ignorant. Charlemagne himself could read but not write. Still, as the ruler, he saw the need for officials to keep accurate records and write clear reports. Charlemagne founded a school at Aachen under the direction of respected scholar Alcuin of York. Alcuin created a curriculum, or formal course of study, based on Latin learning, in including grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Alcuin also hired scholars to copy ancient manuscripts, including the Bible and Latin works of history and science. Alcuin's system would become the education model for medieval Europe. After Charlemagne, new heading. After Charlemagne died in 814, his empire soon fell apart. His heirs battled for power for nearly 30 years. Finally, in 843, Charlemagne's grandson drew up a Treaty of Verdun. The Treaty of Verdun, which split the empire into 3 regions. Legacy of Charlemagne, subheading. After Charlemagne, subheading. Still, Charlemagne left a lasting legacy. He extended Christian civilizations into Northern Europe and furthered the blending of German, Roman, and Christian traditions. He also set up a strong, efficient government. Later, medieval rulers looked to his example when they tried to strengthen their own kingdoms. A new wave of invasions, subheading. Charlemagne's heirs faced new waves of invasions. Despite the Christian victory at Tours, Muslim forces still posed a threat to Europe. In the late 800s, they conquered Sicily, which became a thriving center of Islamic culture. Not until the 900s, when power struggles erupted in the Middle East, did Muslim attacks finally subside. About 869, a new wave of nomadic peoples, the Magyars, settled in what is today Hungary. From there, they overran Eastern Europe and moved on to plunder Germany, parts of France, and Italy. Finally, after about 50 years, they were pushed back into Hungary. The Vikings snapped the last threads of unity in Charlemagne's empire. These expert sailors burst out of Scandinavia, a northern region that now includes Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. Starting in the 900s, they looted and burned communities along the coasts and rivers of Europe. The Vikings were not just destructive raiders, they were also traders and explorers who sailed around the Mediterranean Sea and across the Atlantic Ocean. Vikings opened trade routes that linked northern Europe to the Mediterranean lands. Vikings also settled England, Ireland, northern France, and parts of Russia. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson set up a short-lived Viking colony in North America. Happy Leif Erikson Day, and remember, context is everything. Bye-bye.